Hello everyone, welcome back with another video. We are in a new chapter which is build a serverless Chatgpt API, and in this video we will see actually like how communication is done between Chatgpt's API and your applications. So in this video we will just create a sample program in Python programming language, and we will see how actually communication is done between Chatgpt's API and your application. So without further ado, we will just start our demonstration lab. Now that we have all our environments and softwares set up, the next stage is to actually create a serverless Chatgpt API. So it's basically an API that we create that enables us to ping OpenAI's API for any sort of responses that we want. Now, if that was very confusing, again, I will suggest you to refer to the chart in the introduction section of this course, where that's how we build apps. We basically build Azure functions that ping APIs, ask questions, get answers back, and then basically show those answers in the app. The first thing we need to do is we need to actually make sure, before we even get into Azure functions and serverless functions, we need to make sure that we can actually work with OpenAI's API. Now, if I open up my browser here, and if I go to API references right here, so right now I am at openai.com. I have logged in, and if I go to documentation and I go to introduction for the API reference right here, this is a very good guide as to how to actually use OpenAI's API. Again, it's very easy, and you can change the language here to the language that you are using, which in our case would be Python. Okay, so this is what I am going to use as a basis. But again, I want this to be a complete guide. So please use this as a reference material when you're creating your own apps, because I'm telling you, it's not that difficult to understand. There's a few configurations, oddities here, but it's not that difficult. Okay, let's create a new file in your Visual Studio Code, and we will call that file like accessapi.py. Okay, now the first thing that we need to do is we need to actually install a library called OpenAI. So how we do that is, let's open up a new terminal. Well, actually we can just, I guess we can use this one, but I always like to open up a new terminal in case people are following for the first time. And I'm going to actually install OpenAI library. So we are going to write a command called pip install OpenAI. So what it's doing now is that it's actually installing OpenAI's library of Python functions that we can use to make it easy for us to access OpenAI's API using Python. Okay, so it's basically a bridge that allows us to connect to OpenAI's services. Alright, so we are just going to wait until that's done. Now, while that's going on, we can actually keep going. The next thing we need to do is, when we connect to OpenAI's API, we need to actually identify who we are. And how OpenAI does that is that it requires you to pass in an API key. What I want everyone to do is go into the personal section, go to view API keys, and then create a secret key. Now, once you create this, you won't be able to get back to it. So make sure you click copy on this and actually save it somewhere. Also, do not attempt to just copy my text here, because by the time you are reviewing this video, you won't actually have access to this API. So please go into your own personal account and create a new secret key that way. Okay, so we are going to go back here, and looks like our pip has successfully concluded. Awesome. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to actually bring in a key. So we are going to call it secret key, and it equals, and then in single quotes, and I will just paste in my API key. Okay, perfect. The next thing now that we are going to do over here is we are going to simply call OpenAI. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to import in OpenAI's model. Okay, then what I need to do is actually I need to authenticate that I actually have a key that I can use to actually access their services. So I'm going to say OpenAI dot the API key I want to use for this, and that equals to the secret key variable that we just created up top. So now by doing this, whenever I make requests to OpenAI, it knows that it's coming from a good source. because it can tag the secret key to that account that I just made with OpenAI. Okay, now the next thing I can do is actually I can basically make requests to different models. So for example, what I can do now is I can say, let's see, output equals OpenAI dot. Now OpenAI has multiple different models that I can access, but I'm going to many different functions I can say. I'm going to access the completion function right here, which basically creates a completed response based on a prompt. That's basically what Chatgpt uses. This function basically takes in a bunch of arguments. The first thing I need to specify is, hey, what model do you want to use? We previously saw how OpenAI has different models. They have their advantages and disadvantages. I'm going to use the one that's used by Chatgpt, which is the DaVinci model. So I'm going to use, it's right over here, text DaVinci -003. Now this might be outdated by the time you actually view this course. So the best way to know what models to create is to actually go in here and click models and see what the latest models are. You could also look at Curry, Babbage and other ones too, but I'm going to look DaVinci, which is used by Chatgpt. Okay, perfect. The next thing you should want to be able to show is the actual prompt. So what do you want Chatgpt to complete or produce? Well, I'm going to do over here is, I'm going at very top of this page and type a prompt as well. I'm going to say that I want the prompt to be, tell me a slogan for a home security company. That's it. Okay, so I need to give it a prompt. So I'm going to make the prompt parameter of this function equal to the prompt variable, which is on top, and that is, tell me a slogan for a home security company. Okay, now I can put in some other things as well. What I also need to do is put in max tokens, which basically means, again, we have already talked about what tokens are, but how many tokens do you want OpenAI to create for you? If you have this number very high, then it can give you essays of words, If you have this very low, then you can only get, I think one is, the idea is 10 tokens actually equals to 7 words if I'm not wrong. And from this scenario, we are going to do 100 tokens. The idea is, if you want to kind of save your money and save your requests, then you would have lower tokens, right? As you know, a slogan shouldn't be more than, I think, 10 words, so about 100 characters. So let's change it to 200 characters. That should be fine. And then we are going to make the temperature equal 0. That's again very, very self-explanatory. We have already talked about what temperature is. We can toggle it. We'll just make it 0 right here. Okay, the last thing we want to do is we actually want to print the output. Okay, so we can actually see what it looks like. With all that being said, let's go ahead and click F5 on the keyboard and see it in action. Okay, there we go. We are done. So now what we have done is we have printed the output. The output is actually in a JSON format. Well, JSON object rather, and it has a bunch of different things. It has a key called choices, and within choices you have following here. So you have a finished reason, the index, the log props, but you also have the response from OpenAI over here. You can see, like it says, secure your home, secure your peace of mind. Well, that is a great slogan. It also gives you other metadata as well. So it tells you when it was created, what the ID is, and which model was used, the objective. It also tells you how many tokens were used as well for this request. So the prompt tokens were 9 and completion tokens were 13. Okay, perfect. There we go. We basically made our first Python function here, you can see. Well, we have made our first request to OpenAI using Python, which is the first step in making a serverless Chatgpt API that we can install into our applications. Awesome. Alright, that concludes our video here. In this video, we actually saw how communication is done between your apps and OpenAI's API. So in the upcoming videos of this section, we are actually going to build a complete serverless app using Chatgpt and OpenAI, so stay tuned. If you like the video, kindly give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more amazing videos on these topics. and I shall catch you up in the next one. Till then, have a good day. Bye.